Today we will talk to the National Elections Watch new as one body where we take part in the election. But letting council listen and via them how they monitor the 2023 election and get some data. At this time, I welcome Reverend James A. Lahai, National Coordinator, National Elections Watch New. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning and thank you for hosting me.
Okay, as we all know, New Civil Society organization will make up of different other body them of other organization them, and also they work with community-based organization them. And inside the June 24 election, they play a key role inside the election as them be the monitor and observe the election, and also be get observers them from both local and international, will be the all over the country for monitor the June 24, 2023 election. And also we suicide poll their own data where they show different statistics and results, and that raises a lot of issues and topic of discussion around the country and at different space them. How them be go about forget their own data, and how them be also monitor the election. You can get all the answer today inside the program. So at this time around, I bring in Reverend James A. Lahai, winner in National Coordinator new. Before we start for look at new the mandate on the June 24 election, you can tell me the recent activity of where new don't involve in how it don't be like for new after the election.
Well, after the elections, it appeared like the public divided on waiting anew the findings, and especially the verification of the results as announced by the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone.
Okay.
Because one component of the strategy where National Election Watch employ for observe the June 24, 2023 elections, now one way involve the use of statistics and getting a sample and using that sample for able project waiting they reflect the national picture. And this strategy, not only for these 2023 elections, National Elections Watch don't use them. National Elections Watch used them in 2007. And the announced results by the Electoral Commission then, it almost be accurate with waiting National Election Watch being project.
Okay, so we can look at the projection. Now take we listen and view them new the role as in the first step of new waiting una do, waiting be una role inside the election. Take listen and view them step by step. Let people understand waiting really new the role be inside the June 24 election.
Basically, National Election Watch enroll in elections now for observe elections and elections related activities. And in observing elections related activities, some monitoring they also take place. The monitoring components become about when new when they give out in findings of the observation, and people were asking, and so what? Una say they do so, una recommend this and that, and so what? So the expectation of the public was so strong that we decide say there was need for monitoring of the entire electoral cycle process, because a lot of things where they happen in elections, not on elections day, but now during the various activities were involved in the electoral cycle. And so as a result, we push for where we dey on the table rather than the agenda is being pushed on us. We are where the agenda is set. So now that make we na part of the PPLC, that are the Political Parties Liaison Committee, when a committee where the Electoral Commission be formed in 2007 as a platform whose ideas are exchanged, information is shared, and consultations are made. At that platform, new they also able, on the basis of an observation, for make meaningful contribution into discussions where they able help for improve on the elections process.
Okay, Reverend, one other important thing where people go want to know, almost body or representative they be make up of new in the particular electoral process. The different body them way una be work with attending.
Well, I really don't understand your question very
well.
well.
Not get other organization will be the part of una who una work with, whether local or international.
Well, National Election Watch actually now a coalition of organizations.
So now I ask you,
it's a network of organizations.
So name few of them, please.
The Sierra Leone Teachers Union, where they may belong. The Sierra Leone Labour Congress, whereby affiliates are also connected there. The Interreligious Council. We get Campaign for Good Governance. We get Center for the Coordination of Youth Activities. We get Network Movement for Justice and Development. We get at the regional level, we get Each One Save One. We get Movement for the Restoration of Democracy. We get Center for Development and Human Rights. And we get the Sierra Leone Teachers Union because then they coordinate the southern region. We get 450 organizations in we database for the observation of this particular election we pass.
All na local or na we work with other international body?
We work with new in composition, na both local and international, professional as well as civic-based organizations. It's a broad spectrum of organizations. The issue here is any person or institution where one for be a member of new. After every electoral cycle, we dey open up with membership mobilization. We dey send out forms to the districts because recruitment na at district level. So if you get interest, you dey go take with application form from with district coordinators and then fill the form. After which, we dey do a background check for know whether this you organization not partisan in nature or in leadership not highly influenced by partisan sentiments.
Now, new on the observe election from year 2002 to this election we just passed. And after the election, una pull una position. For somebody they listen now, what is the concern of new for circa June 2023 election?
We be concerned na the lies.
Lies from other them.
From colleagues, civil society organizations, and other actors.
Okay.
And it is disappointing because some of these civil society organizations had been part of the processes of new in the past. And so they know exactly what the process involves. They know exactly the accuracy of the information, but they are deliberately misinforming the public. For whatever purpose, me not go able to put hands on that day. But it is deliberate, and we feel say it is unfortunate.
So I don't see the lie against una in terms of una findings and things they wanna bring out during the election.
Because they are everywhere, including 98.1, saying things that are not correct.
What did 98.1 do exactly?
I'm not talking about 98.1 do something.
No, you talk about they are everywhere, including 98.
I said they are everywhere, including 98.1, perpetrating the lies. Now that's what I tell you. How? But when they host them, then they talk say, Marcela Samba say, don't go take 2 million euro to EU. In fact, what you make them call out for projection, we call out say, the project say Runoff go dey now because they get again 1,500,000 euro where they supposed for collect and they go collect that day only if Runoff and blah blah blah.
Louis puts others' opinion aside. Louis look at the take on the election outcome from the lies where you say civil society or that one they make that's away. Now we look at the transparency aspects of the election. Waiting I wanna take on in terms of transparency and accountability of the election process. When you then work now for ensure transparency and accountability in the electioneering process.
You have to make your question straight so that I understand really what you want for that respond to. You they talk about new Ion processes, the transparency of new processes.
Let we look at concerns of new for sake of the election. You talk about lies. We say other civil society, the lies about Tona. Let we forget about the civil societies, then you take other civil society, then you take. Let look at new then position for sake of the election outcome.
Thank you very much. For election day activities, the setup and opening not been get much problem. Even though in Western region, over 40% of polling stations now open on time. Mainly for Western region. Then the polling itself, that way the people they go vote. There was no problem about that, except few hitches here and there. And then the issue of closing and counting, not being displaying any major issues so officially will affect the outcome of the elections. Now, when it comes to the issue of the tabulation of results, when you go now the tally centers, when you know the transparency component of that process, now that when you the input your data, you suppose for project that then that data where you enter into the system, because that they give opportunity to party agents and also election observers for let them see the figure where they try for input. The importance of that now that because after the counting and validation of results at the polling station level, every political party where they present, then they get a copy of that validated results. So if you project them, that political party, they watch agents and observer, they watch that result where they input, they compare them. So the one where itself gets, where they get at the polling station. So if there is a mistake, they able to pick up and say, no, this figure is not correct. But that opportunity was not given. So that was not transparency at all.
The opportunity was not given by who?
The Electoral Commission now in the manage elections.
Okay.
Now in they handle the process. So if I they talk that you just get for no see, now then they manage. Now they
no, while we view them get a clear answer from you, because you need there for make things clear and talk new then concern. Waiting on other concern again apart from that being said.
Well, with other concern now that after the Electoral Commission don't come out with their results, we try for do a verification of that announced results. And we realize it for all the presidential candidates, not only the main opposition candidates and the ruling party candidates, now then we then get inconsistencies pa. Where we say we two project and waiting the Electoral Commission announce, get variance. But all the other candidates, waiting the Electoral Commission announce and waiting project, consistent. The other inconsistencies were in the area of the turnout. The turnout by way of projection and what the Electoral Commission announced, they had variance. And also the issue of void votes. Waiting project and waiting the Electoral Commission announced, they had big variance.
Okay, let we look at the concerns them we new raise from steps to step. During voting, the law starts from the you make mention of about 40% polling stations now being over 40% polling stations now being open
on time. In fact, there was a particular polling station we opened at about 8 p.m. in the night.
Was I?
Election day.
So now, how the new be able to put 10 statistics here together, and how most observers them would have been get out in overall for observe the election and get 10 results here together?
We get various categories of observers. The first category was 5,000 observers deployed to 5,000 polling stations across the country, noting certain factors. One, for ensure say National Election Watch deploy na every polling center. Two, for ensure say Usai na mega centers. Where I say mega center, you get more than up to 8 and more polling stations. We be fit say search a center for get an additional observer. We also try for look at hard to reach areas where most other observers no go able for go. So we pay attention to that day also for deploy day. And then we also take into account from observing the electoral process, the entire circle, usai na potential hotspots. We also give consideration to that for the deployment. And then polling stations located along the neighboring countries of Liberia and Sierra Leone. So, Liberia and Guinea. So, now then factors then determine how we distribute that level of observers. In addition to that level, we also take a sample of the total number of polling stations. And these samples are statistically selected and representative enough so that the outcome you get from it reflects what the overall, the general, the national picture is. Whether they now be 750. And one thing where I want to let the public know, now the highest sample that we don't use ever since from when we start for observed elections. In 2012, now 500 we choose the sample, just 500.
Okay.
And the results were, excuse me, and the results were the Electoral Commission announced at that time, and it be just March. In 2018, the sample where we use now 506 sample, and the results where the Electoral Commission announced and waiting now be with projection, it be just consistent. This time around, we increase with sample to 750 so that we go able for reduce the margin of error, because in those other elections, we margin of error now be like 3%.
Okay.
So we try for reduce them to 2.7 so that, I mean, because at the end of the day, when the race is very tight, we do that day because of we experienced in 2018. That race was very tight. And so with projection, it will be correct, but the outcome could be different. What do I mean by that? What they say margin of error, if we don't talk like say this person, now 50% he gets. If the margin of error now 3%, that means at the upper level, this person per projection go able get up to 53%. And at the lower level, it go able get 47%. That are the margin of error who they talk about. And if you fall within that range, it means with projection consistent with what the Electoral Commission they announced.
Earlier, you been to talk about the figure we don't they release over the past years. Them we always be in line with ECSL, and this year I can describe the figure we una pull and the one we ECSL pull.
This year, the sample we select, it reduce the margin of error. The margin of error, they try for look at the accuracy of how the results announced by the Electoral Commission consistent with the projection where they come from that way observation. So this year, we take 750 polling stations where na random sampling and a representative. They take note of the concentration of polling stations. They take note of the number of registered voters, and that in the selection of the samples. So possibly, you don't even know who side the sample they fall. So the biggest task about that sampling na getting your sample correct. Because if dem say inside this studio na one sample this wey selected, you for ensure say the observer na inside this studio here na dey e calm, na this police station, na this studio. And for let we ensure that day, when we can don get that sample, we dey go out na all the districts, we dey send support from the secretariat and the strategic management committee to the various districts for go and physically identify then sample polling stations na their locations. Find out every information about that polling station. For example, issue of connectivity. For example, the observers wey the district teams supply we, whether na from that community dem dey. So usa e be say the person go get for waka comot far for go, we dey discard that person and recruit from that very community. Because we dey tell we observers dem say dem for reach na the polling station latest 6:30 a.m. so that dem get opportunity for observe the setup and opening of polls.
You say una been set up, una been send observers na 750 polling stations or centers. Then
Sampled polling stations.
Over almost polling stations in total.
750
No, that's your sample.
out of
Yes.
11,000 plus polling stations established by the Electoral Commission across the country.
How you been select the areas them website then they send the observers them in this or over the 11,000 polling stations them way ECSL sets across the country?
Now that I been just explain just now that in the selection of we samples, they look at certain factors, and I tell you say na random sampling. You for know now what they call random sampling. You know they go talk say na here if for day. Then they set the formula when by that formula they way the selection they come out. But no more, then they set them in a manner where it will be representative enough of the national picture. So that, like you they talk about radio stations, you not go select where the opinion of radio democracy not able factor into it. Or the opinion of SLBC not factor into it. Or the opinion of AYV not factor into it. Now that's not the representative nature of the sample we will talk about.
So Reverend, this system will not be set up. How well the one will be work with new in all of our stages and steps be really trained and understand the work.
They were well trained. And in fact, for this 2023 elections, the challenges we they get previously, we try for overcome them. Because for where you were there at the sample polling station, you get for the communicate your findings into a database where then our situation room now. So before we recruit you, you forget an Android phone where they able help you for do that handling. So what the observers they do in the past, because the sample polling stations have more in terms of remuneration. Somebody they go lend phone, it count I say na phone. Una don't take up. And then what una they do una dry run. Dry run is like testing the process. What una go call that number dey? Sometimes the person abo it be supposed for the person wey dey take the call say, are they free to? Oh no, that day na lent me phone. So for let avoid that day this time around, we buy tablets. So we give all 750 observers tablets. So we not be get concerned, but this person will go lend his brother in phone or will go lend his sister in phone and that. So they were equipped and they were well trained. In fact, their own training, they above the 5,000 regular observers. Now, so we can call the other one then the 5,000. Since they don't involve some technicalities, because with a code all the responses within the same. So therefore understand that coding and therefore able for communicate that coding. We do the coding for let people they not contaminate the data where they come into situation.
Now we look out now being distribute them una 750 observers now the 16 electoral districts them. How una been decide for distribute them and how much each district been gets inside this election?
I'm not go able for explain to you the various figures. Now yeah. But by how I don't explain you, noting the representativeness of the sample, Western Urban, they get the highest number per that 750. Western Rural, now the second highest. Kerema, now the third highest. You for begin to wonder why I say so. Because it reflects the total number of polling stations in the district and the number of registered voters in the district.
The number of registered voters, you take into consideration the voting patterns across Salone. And if you talk about places like, according to the election results, you take places like Pujaon, you're going to say, like you set up 20 or 30 sample size, then will give you the same voting patterns. You go to places like Bombali, then still go give the same voting patterns. But places where, places like Falaba, who side both parties gets their own share of the votes, considering the setting up of the centers or sending una observers them, una take that into consideration to places them where na heterogeneous side where voting not concentrated to one political party for reflect the true results una they collect.
What you don't succeed for do now for explain that particular methodology. Exactly like you don't explain. Now then the sample they take note of. So that every sector represented in that sample, how you take like Pujonsu, where you know say them votes they one way, the representation the commodity. How you take Bombaliso, where them vote they go one side, representation they come out from there. How you take Falabaso, where the vote split, the representation the commodity. How you take Western Urban, Western Rural, representation the commodity. Now you make the distribution of the polling stations, of the sampled polling stations, they reflect a representative. Anyway, make bring una some analogy where the issue of sampling, you they use them for let people they understand. Where you want to know how the plazas, how the salt tastes, where you they cook. Not to all the plazas you they eat, for let you know say, this plazas the salt don't do or the salt not do it. You they mix them. Small now you they put in your hand. That's a sample of the whole plazas. That small way you put in your hand. Now the sample of the whole plazas. When you taste them, that taste where you they get from that small sample, where you take of that plazas, believe me, now so the whole plazas could taste. Equally, where you they go to hospital because you sick, when you go and they go for go test you, they know they take all the blood come out of your body. Now just small sample of the whole blood where they inside you, now then they take. They watch out. And from that sample, then they able to tell you say you get malaria or you get typhoid, and not to that no more. Then they tell you the level, the concentration, just from that small sample.
So
This
That
analogy,
is-
the analogy are match with election analogy or election
Exactly.
observation.
Because now issues of sampling. I don't try for explain wetin the sampling they take into account
So in this,
for make sure say whatever you come out with reflect the whole.
so you dey try for say the observer or the sample them no need for the all over for let una get waiting on a project so for be two.
You don't need for the outside.
Oh, okay.
You only need for make sure say every sector, every cluster is represented in that sample.
Earlier
But you don't
asked,
think so this is an election, you get for do with fact and figure and get for show waiting or other people and vote for. This like a total opposite of what you just create, so what you explain.
And that is why this particular methodology is scientific and is proven to be true and accurate. Not so we no more don't use them. You get several countries where they still employ this methodology. And even we self, not to for this election no more, we don't employ this methodology. We employ them 1 minute. We employ them in 2007. We employ them in 2012. We employ them in 2018. And we don't employ again. If anything, before we go backwards, we for the progress. Because with every election, we expertise the add.
Okay.
With every election, we expertise the add. So, not so at this level, it will be questioned.
Would they come?
Possibly, now how we start, now the doubts them before they existed.
You position at the studio now for explain and clear the doubts them way people get about the observation. As you self mentioned.
Am I doing otherwise?
No, you're not doing otherwise. I'll be earlier ask you how to distribute this sample size across almost each district get as national coordinator, because it's very key in the next area where they can look at the figures them we wanna receive and how wanna receive them, who say wanna receive them from. Make I ask you how much each of them districts, 16 political districts of the country get. Now this one has 750 observer samples.
Okay, everyone, before you can answer that question, they don't make sense to we say now time for go for a break inside the program. Good morning, Salon. Over to you, Reverend. Before we go for a break, my co-presenter will ask you a question.
Yes. If you ask me for the distribution of we sample of that 750, Western Urban 130 polling stations. Western Rural, 74 polling stations. Pujel, 26 polling stations. Moyamba, 34 polling stations. Bont Island, 8 polling stations. Bont Mainland, 17 polling stations. Bow, 70 polling stations. Port Loko, 53 polling stations. Karine, 23 polling stations. Cambia, 35 polling stations. Tonkolili, 46 polling stations. Kwenadugu, 19 polling stations. Falaba, 16 polling stations. Bombali, 46 polling stations. Kono, 39 polling stations. Kenema, 71 polling stations. Kailan, 43 polling stations. 750.
Now, what would have been taken into consideration for then distributions there? So because you see some get 130, some get 70, like Kenima get 71, Boo get 70, and some get 35, and like Kwanedu get 40. What would have been taken into consideration?
This question you don't ask severally.
We need a clarification.
No, my brother. You don't ask us severally. What inform this distribution? Now, the concentration of polling stations and the number of registered voters per district. And you know, say, for the registered number of voters, Western Urban get the highest. Western Rural get the second highest. Kenema get the third highest. Bo get the fourth highest. And then the category then be. So on the basis of the number of polling stations and the number of registered voters, it determines how many samples we will come out under. Because the idea here is whatever this sample they come out with for reflect the national picture.
Now, let me look at the discrepancy or the difference between una figure and ECSL then figure. What's the difference there, and what's una get issue with in terms of the figure we new be the project for a runoff?
After the announcement of results by the Chief Electoral Commissioner, who is the National Returning Officer, we try for do an analysis of that announced result with wetin we own projection see. And we findings of that analysis na that there is inconsistency in the announced result by ECSL and with projection for candidate Samura Kamara. There is inconsistency in the announced results for candidate Mada Bio. But for all the other 11 presidential candidates, all consistent. Wetin the Electoral Commission announce, it consistent with wetin we project. The only other area where inconsistent now in the area of voter turnout. Voter turnout, as announced by the Electoral Commission, they at variance with wetin we project. And then also the number of void votes. Wetin the Electoral Commission announced, they at variance with wetin we project. So now we find it when we do that analysis.
Now, plenty don't question on our data due to our sample size, 750 as per over 11,000 polling stations or centers across the country. You not think say the sample size now one way small for like for instance say okay waiting ECSL say for resonate with your sample size because then cover all over the place and we not just cover 750. Now this one way people are on the caution.
Let me give you the idea with the behind the methodology of sampling. The sampling they help una forget information in real time. Quick. For the commission, it therefore wait for all. But una, because una don't accurately select samples, that's where the commission they wait for. Una don't get a projection of them.
Okay.
So, in terms of sample size, I tell you, say, in 2012, now 500 sample polling stations we use. And there was consistency in the Electoral Commission, they announced results and with projections.
Okay.
In 2018, we sample size at 506. There was consistency in the announced results of the Electoral Commission and that of the projection. In 2023, we increased with sample to 750. And besides the SLPP candidates and the APC candidates, all the other candidates then consistent.
Okay.
The announced results consistent with projection, except then two candidates and except the turnout and the void votes.
Reverend, we know they talk about the difference between una projection and also una sample size, una sample with that of the actual results we come out from ECSL. And according to you, all the projection una make be work for 11 candidates them, unless for the two main candidate them inside the just concluded election with Dr. Samura Kamara and also Dr. Julius Mada Bio, the president. What have been the differences then in una projection and within ECSL puts in then figures as a way difference been there?
In we projection for President Bio, he gets. I'm not going to get the exact figures because I not get there with me now. But the projection puts him in the lead of Samura Kamara, and by the projection, it been gets 50 point something %. And when you take with margin of error, so it means if before able the Electoral Commission they announce result before able fall within 53 point something % and 47 point something %. For Samura Kamara, with projection, they are 46 point something percent, and the Electoral Commission announced result for don't fall within 49 point something percent and 43 point something percent.
When they talk about projection, what in talk about, what do you mean projection? Is it from una sample, what una collect from una sample size, or just other think tank survey or other things them wanna do?
I think where una invite me, not to think tank survey, una invite me for talk about. Now, National Election Watch in processes and in methodology we use. So now that methodology I dey speak to. So, in fact, your question was, then we projections here from we sample polling stations, how the variance dey. So now that question now they respond to.
Okay,
So
well,
why-
So this not to think tank business. So this
Rev-
na accurate information, facts.
But we question
No.
in line with what you there for, right?
Now, Reverend, quick one. You say you no go able give the actual now, but people they listen to you now, it go good. You know the national coordinator for give the exact, because this 53 plus something go make them confused.
There's something I'm waiting exactly in terms of figure.
But already, even though I'm not able to give the exact, but I don't give a lead to waiting actually the figures that they are about. And the one that we are not too sure of, now when I talk about points, I say points, something. But the main figure in itself, I don't talk her.
Reverend, what you go say about the view where many people get say new step beyond them boundary? You people now observer group, not monitors. When I step beyond the boundary and do like the job of ECSL. What
Thank
go
you
say to
very
that?
much for that question. I appreciate them so much. Because now that day everybody they go and talk.
Some, not everybody.
Some. Thank you very much for that correction, my dear. Some people feel say you go over a boundary, but I have to let you know say new in mandate, it dey inside the constitution and it dey inside the regulations where the Electoral Commission dey pass. Because in the constitution it talks say elections shall be observed. And the Electoral Commission, as the body where now they in charge of conducting and managing elections, it dey give accreditation to everybody wey get interest for observe. So you not go observe if they not give authority. And when then they give that authority for let you observe, then they give what they call code of conduct. That waiting you for do, waiting you not for do. We not go outside that day. At all. We dey within waiting they say we for do and waiting they say we not for do. Where na in na the code of conduct. That besides, this strategy where most people they cry down now will not spring a number on people by surprise. When we put this strategy in place, I be don't tell una say we get 450 organizations where now we members. We try for bring the leadership of that 450 organizations and educate them on this strategy and how we get for observe and how we get for use the sample, and also go further for explain we financial situation for this election. We do them by clusters. We take Mount Mainland and Mount Island, we bring them through. We take Western Rural and Moyamba, we carry them go Moyamba. We take Pujao and Bo, we bring them Abo. We take Kailao and Kenema, we bring them to Kenema. Now so we do it right across the country, just so that we go educate the leadership of them member organizations. Let them know exactly what we get for can do, and let them own that project and sign to code of conduct. Can I please expand on this? It is very important. We see ask council. After we don't do that, now Atlantic Hotel, we bring the wider civil society together, plus state institutions like ONS, like NCD and others, and we educate them on this strategy. We explain to them exactly how we get for observe the election, and this na be a component. And we also let them tell we how prepare the way. If it not stop there, we also now the same Atlantic Hotel, we bring back government and institutions and election management bodies, including political parties, including the Electoral Commission, including the PPRC, including ONS. We take them through this strategy where you see we use so. They ask questions, we answer, we do that, they done. After that, we launch the strategy. And when we launch that strategy, now New Brookfield Hotel, now the Electoral Commission, I launch am. The Chief Electoral Commissioner, I before launch am, but it delegates the responsibility to the Commissioner for the Eastern Region. And we bring together all the one that where we don't give money, or where we don't promise say they get for give money, they be there for that launch. And we let them all make statements. So that person don't go say it don't take money now and here for the same thing. And then we also invite political parties in all these things.
Okay.
And earlier you give the figure we will be asked for specification, but now the public don't they ask when they display the figures there so or from the sample size for make the public able get access to them.
The question, they look funny small. Because if we not be done publish, all them questions they are not before come. What you get, now we put.
By station, they say by station, because the last time we've been get the data experts for new online, and we get also an expert now the studio. Now one challenge that we it been through to new.
The person we get the trust. Now the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone. The need for proof say with projection not correct. And the only way for able to prove that now for publish the polling station results.
Polling station result they out.
The publication of the polling station results where the Electoral Commission gets. Now he go dispute whether with methodology faulty. But in the absence of that, they not go tell we say the projection faulty. In fact, the
result
correct
they
thing
out
for
by
do,
polling station.
let me tell you, the correct thing for do, for let you go be very transparent and accountable. You get for let people who vote at the polling stations know waiting at the outcome of the results at that polling station who side them go vote. So if you not publish them, you they deny them the right for no. Imagine, let's tell you one thing. You remember, I don't know if now be 2012, where Charles Magai, where they announced, where they announced that results them. They say the polling station who say he go vote, in family go vote. Now zero you get. If the polling station results not published, you not go able for verify.
Reverend.
So let that be verified.
By polling station.
But before una go the break, una tell me for the exact.
Yeah, exact. Reverend, would they come to that exact? Would they come to that exact? I earlier asked if una own polling station result then the out, or una result then the out by polling station.
Not to responsibility for poll results by polling station.
But if the public ask
we
for
responsibility now for let we talk about we findings where we observe the elections. Because the obligation on us to the public is therefore no waiting now the outcome of we observation, and that is what we have done.
If the public ask for them,
the public no say not to we get polling station results.
But
the public no say now the Electoral Commission Sierra Leone now in get the results.
So why not allow them to do their work rather than come out and jump before them and make a projection? Give so many people down to ECSL.
Now we all work we do. If the Electoral Commission feel say na dem work we do, therefore don't take action against we.
So now
But
work
they
for
no say,
affect
they no
integrity
say,
of
but
other
they no
state
say,
institution.
they no say we not do anything where they outside wetin we suppose to do.
But you say it's supposed for being away, whatever una get as findings, una hand over to ECSL rather than una take up on yourself and make them public.
Then there would have been no need for observe the elections.
But now the rightful thing that is supposed to be done.
Because you dey observe the elections for let the public know wetin actually happen. You know say dem dey talk say person wey you vote na for go back na host. So when you go na host, you suppose forget the confidence say people dem dey wey dey watch this process. So from there people here are go able for know bye bye.
So Reverend, how new really feel on a projection una come out with to make so many people get integrity doubt on the state institution, we get a full mandate on all electoral process when a ECSL. How una really take that on a action that make certain doubt on the whole state institution?
We purpose for observe na for establish checks and balances. We na the responsible for clean, credible, transparent, and accountable elections. And at that day, we strive towards.
Una be make clear ECSL no say this now una findings say una don't get from the June 23 election. I mean June 24. Una make clear.
We make some effort for discuss with the Chief Electoral Commissioner before we come out with projection.
What happen?
We book an appointment with am for say we wan see am for share with information with am. He tell we for go meet am na Bintumani complex international hall. We go there and through say me we late by 30 minutes.
That is
so
yes,
by
that
the time
you late.
National Election Watch, the appointed time for let we meet the Chief Electoral Commissioner, we late by 30 minutes. Na that they see.
Okay.
So by the time when we reach there, we meet him don left. So we call am. Now he say, well, him gonna host it tire, so he go rest. So we book an appointment for morning time for let we able for go meet am back. So morning time, now he in fact call we, I give am credit for that. And tell we say that meeting where we don't say so, he go prefer let we wait. The commissioners, the regional commissioners, they're on their way for kind of freedom, so that if we go hold that meeting, the regional commissioners, they're all for Didi. But then we communicate with them and we process. And so we project for say, by the data where we get, nobody not score the 55% when I end the law say person go get for let runoff not go every day. That was our projection.
So quick one, you mean they try for give out the figure we una get exactly. We have been say make it hold on for the benefit of the listeners according to new una projection.
Thank you very much. President Bio, by the official result, get 56.2%. By our projection, he get 50.4%. We margin of error na 2.7. When we say President Bio, by the announced result, for them get 47.7% or 53.1%. So that are one inconsistency. Samora Kamara, by the announced results, he get 41.2%. By our projection, he get 46.5%. Margin of error 2.7%. When we say Samora Kamara for don't get 43.8% or 49.2% in terms of waiting the Electoral Commission they announced. Ba Mohammed Cherno, he gets 0.8%. With projection na 0.8%. Margin of error na 0.1%. When we say that in result for don't fall 0.7% or 0.9%.
Okay.
Coca Prince.
Okay, we no go.
Coca Prince, by the results announced, he gets 0.2%. We projection at 0.3%. Where the margin of error at 0.0%.
And you still we go and you still hold them position say the election nobody no win in first round.
Now that day I don't even explain. Even by the
Okay.
results they want to tell.
And people for
Okay.
believe una and wait una
because
say.
because the law say somebody forget 55%.
Okay.
With projection they say nobody no get 55%
Okay, thank you.
in first round.
Thank you very much, Reverend James Lahai, National Coordinator, National Elections Watch, new for weekend inside the program and explain una methodology and observation during the June 24, 2023 election. Plenty thank you for we joining inside the program.
Okay, everyone, they say thank you to you when you come to the studio.
You guys are interested. Thank you very much.